sponsorship. So, yeah, no, mega weekend.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations on the third place.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Anyway, there is the Libra winner, but I don't know where they are again, because as we found yesterday, the drivers keep running off. So we can see the Clios are just heading out onto track. We're going to do a quick ad break. We're back in a second. Don't go anywhere, because the Clios, they always have something interesting to deliver.
Second race of the weekend for the K-Tech Racing Clio Sport Championship about to get underway. They're off on their green flag laps ahead of a 15-minute race. Yesterday, Justin Griffiths was that took the victory from Darren Ransom in second place. But let's have a look at the grid for this one. It's based on the fastest lap times from yesterday's race. So pole position is number 55. That was Griffiths, and besides him, 30 Darren Ransom. Second over the grid, you've got 14, which is Jack McConnell, and 72, which is Pete O'Connor in the first of the 182s. The first three cars are 197s. Then the third of the grid, that's number 12, that's Matt Hipkins, and 75, Greg Hill. On row 4 of the grid is number 10, Josh North, and 7, Stephen Richardson. Row 5 is number 13, Mark Enos, and 62, Max Martin. Row 6 of the grid is number 11, David Redshaw, and number 1, Chris Lawrence. Then on to row 7 of the grid, 297 is Jan Whittaker, 57 is Matthew Poncia, and row 8 of the grid, number 8, Chloe Daly, and 18, Mark Witherington. But I think there was some drama overnight, Andy, within the Clio paddock, with a few late changes to the results.
Indeed so. 3 drivers disqualified from the race yesterday for a technical non-compliance that had some relation to ride height. I'm going to guess ride heights being too low, under the minimum measurement, and those 3 drivers were numbers 297, Jan Whittaker, number 57, Matthew Poncia, and perhaps most significantly, number 1, Chris Lawrence, which of course had big ramifications not only as far as the result of the race yesterday was concerned, but also the championship, because we know that Chris Lawrence, the driver of that beautifully liveried number 1 car, was right up there in the points, but a disqualification means a loss of points, and also a disqualification can't be used as a dropped score, so that could well come back to bite him later in the year.
It could. So Josh Barrett has been crunching the numbers on this, and we've got the point situation now after those amended results have been taken into account. So Pete O'Connor, Class A driver in the 182, now leads the championship on 123 points. Justin Griffiths from Class B is second overall and leading Class B therefore on 118 points. Darren Ransom is third on 104. Joshua North is fourth on 102, and fifth is Chris Lawrence on 85 points. So he's quite some way back in the championship now, and as you say, he's going to have to count that 0 score for that technical infringement, that disqualification at the end of the season. So it's going to make it very tough indeed for him to defend his title, which he won last year in a 182. He's switched up to a Class B 197 for this season. We've got a mixture of the 197s and the 182s. It was the 182 that, getting on for a decade ago, was the original basis of the Clio Championship that the 750 Motor Club put together. More recently, 2 or 3 years ago, the 197s were introduced, the more modern car, a bit heavier, but they've been proved to be, and the regulations have been designed as such, to try and keep the performance levels between the two roughly equal. And it's possible for Cosmo the class to win a race overall. It seemed to be the case that the 197s have been a bit stronger here, but Pete O'Connor yesterday initially was getting in amongst the 197s, but then dropped back almost into the clutches of his teammate in the 182s, Josh North, during the course of the race. Points are scored within the individual classes rather than based on overall finishing position. The overall champion can come from either of the 2 classes. So it's Justin Griffiths, winner of yesterday's race, that's lining up on pole position here. It was his 3rd win of the season. Pete O'Connor and Charles Shelburne, who's not here this weekend, have been the other drivers to have success so far this year overall. And as far as Class A has been concerned, Pete O'Connor now having won 3 races in a row, Stephen Richardson having the 2 victories at Brands Hatch, which hosted the opening meeting of the season for these cars. So cars coming up onto the grid now. The green flag is waved at the back, and we're shortly going to go racing again for the K-Tech Racing Clio Sport Championship. And the lights go out. The race gets underway then. And off towards target they go. Is it going to be Griffiths or Ransom? It's going to be Griffiths that has the lead into the first corner at target. And there, Chris Lawrence making up a lot of ground off the start as well in the traditional yellow and blue Redo colours. He's up to 4th place now, just tucking in behind Pete O'Connor there. So a great start from Chris Lawrence. He was there, of course, a bit further back on the grid.
So Lawrence up into 4th position already, 3rd within his class though, so he'll be very pleased with the way that his race has started. Round Church Corner they go, all on tippy toes, just trying not to lose the rear end of the car on turn in, but this has been a very clean opening half a lap. Fingers crossed it remains that way as we head up towards the Rocket Complex for the first time, where Chris Lawrence is very late on the brakes and goes around the outside of Peter O'Connor, and I think is now into 3rd place overall, or he will be in a moment. Anyway, yes, completes the manoeuvre on the exit of Rocket Inn. So Chris Lawrence definitely seems to have an abundance of confidence, doesn't he, in these early stages, and he's already on the tail of the leading 2.
12th to 3rd in the space of about 2/3 of a lap. Is that going to be second? Darren Ransom is halfway alongside him down into the corkscrew, is fully alongside him. He's going to be on the outside line for the first part of it though. Is it going to work out for the second part? Very different lines, opposite sides of the circuit basically. And it's just about Ransom that's been able to hold on there. There's been a spin for the number 12 car. That's Matt Hipkins. He's got off onto the grass, but not really getting in the way of anybody else. There's a few cars still to come through, including Josh North, I thought, a bit further back than I might have expected to see him. But now Lawrence has got 2nd place away from Ransom over the line and up into target for the 2nd time. So it's the 3 197s, and then it's the first of the 182s. Pete O'Connor, Stephen Richardson, I notice, is up to 6th place overall, I beg your pardon, and 2nd of the 182s.
Yes, he is. So he's going pretty well in the early stages as well. But as you often see in wet conditions, some drivers just have a bit more natural confidence in these conditions than others. And Chris Lawrence certainly not lacking in that confidence. He's already starting to eat into that 1.7 second advantage that Justin Griffiths had at the start of the lap, on board with Justin Griffiths on the inset there, so you can see a nice clear view for now, but the view in the rear view mirrors not quite as appealing to him as he sees Chris Lawrence closing in. Then you've got Darren Ransom 3rd, Peter O'Connor 4th, 5th position is Jack McConnell, but there is Richardson looking around the outside. So Richardson, another driver who, where was he? 4th in class in yesterday's race, only 8th overall. Well, okay, he's running in 6th overall right now, but 2nd of the 182s in Class A, and looking much more comfortable today than he did yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. Richardson, the 46-year-old window cleaner from Milton Keynes, is in the car that his son Lewis raced last year. That's Chloe Daly. Looks like she might be just recovering from a moment there, looking at the body language of the car. Meanwhile, the 2 leaders pretty much right together now. Justin Griffiths and Chris Lawrence, these have raced together for a long time. And let's see if we're going to have a battle royal here between last year's champion in the 182s and Justin Lawrence, the man who's the one to beat this season in the 197s. Through target they go. Looks like they're getting away now from Darren Ransom in 3rd place. I wonder if he might come under threat from Pete O'Connor. Different lines being taken by the 2 leaders into the banking. But it's still Griffiths that's prevailing for the moment. Looks like Stephen Richardson was not too far away from the back of Jack McConnell either. But here are the 2 leaders heading into Church Corner now. And it's Lawrence on the inside line. And Lawrence has made it through into the lead of the race at one of the most daunting corners of the circuit in very tricky conditions. So Lawrence takes the lead. Griffiths down to 2nd as they head up towards Rocket.
Can Griffiths come back at him into the braking zone? You ride on board with the man who's now in 2nd place with a face full of spray heading to the top of the hill. And he's not able to make a move on the way in, but that was just much superior traction really from Chris Lawrence coming off the banking. Just much better run off the corner, and then confidence to stick it up the inside into Church, which as Ian alluded to is not an easy thing to do. So Chris Lawrence then to the lead of the race. Justin Griffiths drops down to 2nd, but can he now learn maybe from Chris Lawrence by watching him, following his lines maybe, As you can see, that's easier said than done because you can't really see. If you get in the wheel tracks of the car ahead, then your visibility is limited, but you might be able to pick up a thing or two here from Chris Lawrence and think, well, if Lawrence can carry that sort of speed through the corner, there's no reason why I shouldn't be able to do the same. Let's see, there's still over 2/3 of the race to go. Having said that, though, I'd say that Darren Ransom is now becoming more of a threat, actually, for second place.
Yeah, so let's have a look at the lap times that time. It was a 1:33 for Griffiths, a 1:31 for Ransom, 1:31 for O'Connor, and 1:31 for the race leader, Lawrence, as well. So it was a slow lap from Griffiths. Everyone else a couple of seconds a lap faster. So Griffiths here, I think, is probably going to have to be more focused on keeping cars behind him rather than attacking for the lead. Ransom and O'Connor, the 182 leader, very much putting him under threat. O'Connor with the wipers going 19 to the dozen there through Church Corner, the Bristolian in that number 72 car. 41-year-old from Bristol, as I say, works in IT, only started racing last year, was 4th in Class A in last year's championship. Up towards Rocket they go. Ransom, number 30. He's just ahead of him at the moment, yet to have a win this season. Might not come today, but we'll have to wait and see. He did come close yesterday, was leading for a time in the first of the race of the weekend yesterday, and there is a third race for these cars right at the end of today's programme as well. So 3 races for the Clios this weekend, as it is for the Type Rs and a couple of the other categories this weekend. Great value for money, provided as ever by the 750 Motor Club to their competitors. I was watching Chris Lawrence with that half-decent lead now, coming down the corkscrew, 2nd, 3rd and 4th, really tightening up.
Yes, they are. Richardson hasn't yet got past Jack McConnell, has he? So he's not really able to go and challenge Peter O'Connor for the class lead, as Chris Lawrence, perhaps unsurprisingly, sets a new fastest lap of the race. He's now 1.8 seconds up the road from yesterday's winner, Justin Griffiths, who just did a personal best lap, which was still half a second or more slower than leader Lawrence. So it really is all about this fight for second place. Now look at that, 2 more different lines you couldn't hope to see through the banking, right out to the edge of the road on the outside for Justin Griffiths. Darren Ransom takes a really tight line, but actually I think Griffiths had the right idea. Look at the way that gap has extended coming off the corner. And actually now Peter O'Connor starting to apply a bit more pressure to Darren Ransom. Doesn't really need to battle Ransom. They are in different classes, as we made the point, but if Peter O'Connor feels that he's quicker, he will, I'm sure, try to make a move, and that might well come heading into Rocket. He closes in on the number 30 car, but it does look like Ransom's a little bit better on the brakes, gets the car stopped nicely for Rocket, and manages for now to keep the leader of Class A behind him.
Certainly does. About halfway through this race then, and making their way towards Peel Corner. Chris Lawrence 1.8 seconds to the good up front. He's maintained that advantage, I think, here. Justin Griffiths, as we can see on the little onboard inset, has not quite the view of Chris Lawrence in front of him now that he had. Worth reminding yourselves that Chris Lawrence started 12th on the grid for this race after that issue yesterday. So a good comeback from him. There's Stephen Richardson, just a brief view of him, but here's the race leader, reigning champion as well. Number 1, Chris Lawrence. Been racing in the Clios for a few years now. O'Connor once again, just thinking about having a look at the inside of number 30, Darren Ransom. But Jack McConnell now actually in 5th place has done the best lap of the race. He's a couple of seconds behind this battle, but gaining on it. He's in a 1:31.403. Only actually gained about a quarter of a second on the cars in front of him that time through, though. Here is O'Connor still threatening Darren Ransom for 3rd position overall. This is the battle for 3rd place. 72 car of O'Connor is shaping to the left-hand side of the circuit now. That's covered by Ransom. Up the hill, he goes to the outside line. He's going to try and outbrake him around the outside there. No. So no change. They're all sort of following another around. But there's Jack McConnell, the number 14 car for the 28-year-old man from Northern Ireland, although based in Milton Keynes these days. The EV test engineer is closing on these cars. They're doing some lappery as well. I think that's Chloe Daly in the number 8 car that's just being passed by the front runners. Yep,
Ransom under pressure once again from Peter O'Connor. I'll tell you what, though, if Ransom could ever get a bit closer to Justin Griffiths, then I don't really fancy Justin's chances of keeping him behind, because Darren is so good on the brakes up at Rocket. He's at the moment having to use that advantage to defend from Peter O'Connor, but he does seem able to brake quite a bit later than the cars ahead. New fastest lap set by Chris Lawrence this time around, a 1:31.298. So Chris Lawrence now 2.5 seconds clear of this three-way fight. What about the pace of McConnell? He did a 31.4. So again, about 3/10 quicker than this group ahead as they continue to battle. He is 2.2 seconds behind them though, so it will take him the majority of the rest of the race at this rate anyway to catch up to these three, unless they really start tripping over each other, which may well happen if Darren Ransom keeps on defending from Peter O'Connor, something that Darren really doesn't want to be doing, because his fight is not with Peter, it is with Justin Griffiths ahead, but because he's defending from the 182 behind, it means that Justin Griffiths is continuing to sort of distance himself from this pair.
Certainly is. Up towards the rocket they go, into the final third of the race as well. We're on lap 7 here. As you can see, it's still Chris Lawrence with a comfortable lead, then Griffiths, Ransom and O'Connor, with McConnell continuing to close the gap, it would seem. Took another quarter of a second or so out of them last time, but I don't think he's really going to catch them by the end of the race, given this rate of progress. O'Connor is desperate to try and find a way through. He's not content to sit on a class victory here. He's alongside Darren Ransom down into the corkscrew, or he was. He's just backed it away from that now and decided to discretion the better part of valour. And I guess the thing here is he has got quite a distance back to the next car within his class, which is Stephen Richardson, who is several seconds and sort of one car behind O'Connor.
Meanwhile, this is a good battle that's been going on for fourth in the 182 class. Mark Enott and Joshua North, with Max Martin not that far behind. Three of them tussling away for a position just off the class podium. It's 9th place overall that they're fighting over. The number 13 car of Mark Enott out the front of this group. These three have been together, though, pretty much since the start of the race. And they're not a million miles behind Witherington, are they? Ahead. And that gap is, what, a couple of seconds, 2.7 seconds or so. Did we see Witherington out yesterday? I'm not convinced we did,
no,
did
I don't
we?
think we did, no.
Yeah, so good to see him out on track and running well in second place in class.
Absolutely. Here's this fight going on for second, third and fourth on board on the inset with Justin Griffiths. Clear track ahead of him, really, because Chris Lawrence getting further and further up the road. 2.674 seconds was the gap at the start of the lap. There's Griffiths, still having to work hard to keep Ransom and O'Connor behind him. Through Peel they now turn. You've got Jack McConnell, who is still closing in on them.